This is my dad, my mom, and my brother. If you're like most of the average teens in America nowadays, your schedule is booked with extracurricular activities. Trying to get to those twirling practices, after-school tutorials, having time to do your schoolwork, trying to keep a well-balanced schedule, getting to piano practice, and having late-night band rehearsals. And by the end of it all, your schedule more than likely looks like this, a big jumbled mess. In today's time, there is a big push for extracurricular activities, but they can cause more harm than good. First, let's look at all the disadvantages. Being involved in a lot of extracurricular activities leaves students with not a lot of free time and often leads to procrastination. I know myself as a student, I'm involved in a lot, and by the end of it all, I don't make sure that I have time for schoolwork, and I oftentimes procrastinate till the very last minute and get very stressed out. Here's a quote from the Learning School. When a student is not fully dedicated to the activity they choose, then it loses its point as well as all of its benefits. Also, not having time to do your schoolwork and being overbooked with extracurricular activities leads to overwhelmed students and stress. Here's another quote from the Learning School. Sometimes there is a lot of pressure put on students by not just colleges and universities, but also their parents who want them to build up their college resume, and due to this, students often lose interest in the activity and all of its benefits. Another aspect to this is economic issues discriminate students from whether or not they can be involved in extracurricular activities or not. I know that being a twirler, you have to pay for batons, jazz shoes, your field shoes, your pep rally uniform, your field uniform, your pantyhose, your bloomers, and all the stuff that goes in your hair. So when you're choosing extracurricular activities, you kind of need to keep that in mind. But it should not discriminate students from whether or not they can be involved or not. Here's another quote. A study by an academic at the Hong Kong Institute of Education recently showed in 1991 the chances of rich and poor children getting into a university was roughly similar. In 2011, the chances of rich families getting into a university was 4 times higher. Some solutions to these problems would be the management of time. Here's a quote. Research compiled by Alaskan Division of Behavioral Health notes that teens' involvement in extracurricular activities serves as a protective factor against negative behaviors of drug use, early sexual activity, and teen pregnancy. My principal always told us that if we weren't involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, that we would be involved in these things. That's not necessarily true. I have a lot of friends in school that act in these activities and still are overbooked with extracurricular activities. If they want to do it, they're going to find a way. But if you keep a well-timed schedule, your parents will know where you're at and what you're doing, or they should. Another solution would be to create boosters. In the TIG band, we have band boosters, and what they do is they fundraise money and collect money over time so we can buy new instruments, and students who can't buy their own instruments have instruments, helps them buy their band shoes, their t-shirts. So it's really nice to have. So if a lot of organizations would create boosters to help students, then they could pay for it, and if not all the way, then they can split it. So it makes it a little bit more easier on the families. And also, if you keep a nice time schedule, you won't be stressed out and you'll be more functional and have more time for your schoolwork, so you'll make better grades. Some solutions, some benefits from the solutions would be that there are more college opportunities for both rich and poor families. Boosters, if they help these students get more involved, then that creates more accessibility to more colleges than what they would originally have. Also, not being overbooked in extracurricular activities, it makes students more functional for their schoolwork and they won't be completely exhausted. And also, it creates better grades. I know a lot of kids I go to school with, they get out of football or another fall sport, or they get out of band or whatever the case may be, and their grades go up a whole lot. As you can see, although extracurricular activities can be beneficial, they are also putting students at disadvantages. Considering these three factors, money, time, and stress, you should push your children to do extracurricular activities that they enjoy, and so they're not overbooked. It's good to be involved in extracurricular activities, but I don't think that they should have such a big push in them. Now, I leave you today with a question. When was the last time you asked your child, or even yourself, with what you were involved in, if it was really what you wanted to do,